Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Joining me today, we're going to get off the Bruce train. I have a new friend, Emma Marie, is joining me. She reached out, said that she is passionate about music and can't wait to join me. Emma, welcome to the show.
Hi.
I am so glad you're here. So tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
The best thing that I can say about me is that I am just who I am.
Okay. So where are you calling from? Where are you at? Where are you located?
Oh, my location? It's
Yeah.
right here. Yep, it's just right. It's, home is where the heart is. That's what I always say.
Okay. I always like to start at the beginning, Emma. So growing up, did your family listen to a lot of music?
Oh, yeah. My parent really listened to some music. That's for sure. They listened to a band, an obscure band. I don't know if you had heard of them, but a lot of the I think it was the Beatles.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they were big Beatle fans?
Yes, they did listen to a Beatle.
Okay. And what any other kind of music they listened to?
They were very fond of the music that had the tunes along with the melody when they went together.
Okay. Yeah. That's all, melody and tunes and lyrics all can be good. So when did you go through a lot of times people, Emma, go through a phase where they kind of rebel against their parents' music. So when you were in high school or, and starting, did you kind of find your own path for music?
Wow, that's a fascinating question. I really appreciate you asking it. Because specifically for me, no.
Okay. So you kind of just kept embracing your parents' music?
Sure.
Oh, okay, good. Well, because a lot of time, well, so do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay, so are you the older or younger?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because that's kind of not a yes or no question, but because the reason a lot of times I bring this up, Em, is if you're the younger sibling, you are influenced by your older siblings, or if you're the older sibling, you tend to influence the younger sibling. So, like in your case, were you influenced or were you the influencer?
Yes, I was older or younger. I was the influencer or the influenced.
Okay.
I'd say I was in the middle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. The middle is a good place to be. I can see that. Um, you mentioned that you're a big music fan. So, who are some of your favorite artists? Who are people that you love listening to?
Um, I not so much specific artists do I listen
Okay.
to.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes people like a genre, like sometimes people love soul music, or they're really into 70s rhythm and blues, or they love core, you know, classic country music. So, like, is it more of a genre of music that you're passionate about?
Yes, I do like the genres of music.
Okay, good. Any specific genre that speaks to you?
I think the genre that you just mentioned, the 70s R&B.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of fun. Um, because back in the day, um, I graduated high school in 77, so I'm kind of older, and there was a lot of that 70s funk and a lot of, not only disco, but this, you know, other kind of this a lot of the Earth, Wind and Fire and other bands. So is that kind of the music you enjoyed?
I liked the fire,
Okay.
the earth and the wind. I could do without, I'd say.
That's a unique perspective. I get that. So do you like to go to live concerts, Emma? Do you enjoy going to live shows? Do you like live music?
Do I enjoy going to shows live?
Well, that kind of wasn't what I meant. Like, in other words, there are, you can go to movies and see people perform, and then you can go to a concert where it's a live band playing music. So do you like going to see bands, perform music live?
I haven't, I guess you're right. I don't think I've seen a musician
Okay.
in real life, in the wild,
Mm.
live, live, as you would say.
Oh, just because of the pandemic, just kind of nervous about crowds, or just kind of shy?
Well, this is the first time that I'm hearing about this.
Oh, okay.
I've been enjoying music for quite a while, but I didn't know that you could go and see them.
Okay. So you just been listening like via like the radio or
The
record
what?
players of the radio, the that you can play like in your car, you can turn on and hear music.
I don't think my car has one of those.
Okay. So when you say you're lit, well, then a CD, right? Like you have a like a some kind of stereo system in your house, right? Or do you play music like from your computer, like on Spotify or iTunes or something?
Computer.
Okay. Yeah. And when you so you should look into it, Emma, that yeah, you can go to places live and they will perform songs for you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um, when when you're listening to the music, now do you just from the computer, or do you have specific artists that you tend to go and look at, whether it's, you know, like as you were talking about Donna Summer, or Gladys Knight and the Pips, or Supremes, other Motown bands?
Well, as you've said, I use the computer, as
Okay.
I've said, and you've confirmed. And I also am passionate about music.
Yes, you've
So
said that.
typically, my process includes going to the computer
Okay.
and typing in music.
And then just it plays it's magic. It plays music for you.
Right. I don't know all the ins and outs of the technology involved, but then
Okay.
the music happens.
Yeah. It's kind of like some person who maybe has like an Amazon Dot or Alexa, just go, hey, play music. You just go to your computer and you type music, and then music comes out.
Exactly.
That's good. Now, are you someone who likes to sing along with this music? Do you like to dance like there in your house and enjoy?
Yes. Oh, yes.
The beat starts getting into you, and I can see it, Emma, you're smiling. It makes you feel, you start moving, huh?
You know what? Don't even get me started with the feelings. I feel all of them.
That is good. A lot of good feelings are good. Are there songs or albums that have meant a lot to you, like maybe have gotten you through a tough, loss, a breakup, or, something a music that you and your friends play to celebrate? Are there songs like that?
Yes.
That's good. Good. So maybe you could give me a specific. Is there like a specific song you would enjoy, sharing?
In fact, my friends and I got together just the other day
Yeah.
for a celebration, and we all sang a song together. Happy birthday.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's nice. Yeah. That's really good. Um, So it sounds like music is really passionate in your life. It
Absolutely.
can I know this is probably difficult for you, Emma, but can you put into words why this music means so much to you?
Oh, yeah. I'll put it into 5 words.
Oh, okay. 5 words. That sounds great. And
Right?
those 5 words would be?
Life, song, heart, music, radio. Radio, is that how you say it?
Yes, yes. Radio is how
That
you
will be
said.
5.
Those are 5 beautiful words. Those
Thank
are
you.
nice. Those are really good. Um, I one of the questions I ask is if there's, any music that you'd want to go see that you haven't got to see live, but since you haven't seen anyone live, I don't know if I can really ask you that question. So I'm going to kind of move on.
I am
Um,
very excited.
yeah, I know. I can't wait. I'm going to have you back on after you go to a show.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's amazing. Um, so so i- is there anything else you love, Emma? I mean, it sounds like you love the computer and music, but is there anything else you're passionate about in your life currently?
Dog,
Okay, yeah. So you big dog person, you love animals. What kind of dog do you own?
Havanese,
Ah, okay, very nice. What's the name of your dog?
Judy, Judy
Judy.
Book.
Judy Brooke. Okay. Any reason why you picked that name?
Well, I'm a librarian.
Yes.
And when I got the dog, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to be able to bring my dog to work every day? But
Okay.
how will I do it?
Hmm.
So then I smuggled her in. And when anybody asked what I was holding, I just said books. And technically, I wasn't lying.
I like that. I like that question a lot. That's a good answer. Well, Emma, this has been amazing. I just appreciate so much you sharing so much of yourself. It is I'm always touched when someone wants to come in here and share so much of their inner feelings. And so thank you for that.
Be
Um,
vulnerable, but I just want to set a good example out there for everybody.
well, you certainly have. You have. Is there anything else I should have asked you that I haven't, Emma?
Hmm. You know what? You haven't asked me about my 16th birthday back in Miami.
Oh, okay. So this sounds good. You're turning your sweet 16 in Miami. Wow. So tell me about that day.
It was great.
That's good. Any what made it so significant that you remembered?
Oh boy, I mean, it's my sweet 16 and it's in Miami.
Yeah. What?
The sun was hot, the water was cold, the alcohol was prohibited.
uh, You're right. What else could I ask? I mean, we don't need any other words. All right. So I always end every episode with the Mary question. And so for those of you who are friends of Emma's who are listening to this podcast, I know you're shocked she has bared so much of her soul. But that's what we do here on Set Leslie Bruce. But I ask every guest that Jay Armstrong, who is an honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area, would take the song Thunder Road from Bruce Springsteen and would break it apart as a poem. They would study it, they compare the lyrics, they talk about the themes, and at the end of the 2 days, Jay asked the question, does Mary get in the car at the end of Thunder Road? So Emma, that's your question. Does Mary get in the car?
No.
Okay, she doesn't. All right. Do you want to share why you think she doesn't?
I've thought a lot about this,
Okay, good. That's good.
but no, I don't feel comfortable sharing it at the current time.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to make you uncomfortable. All right.
I didn't know this was going to come up.
Okay, no problem. I understand that happens. That's good. If someone wants to reach you, Emma, are you on social media whatsoever?
I am.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. And how could they reach you if my listeners want to know more about you?
Ooh, even more?
Yeah,
What?
I know. It was as much as you've shared. You would think they couldn't. What I mean, there's no mysteries left.
Yes, I am on Instagram and I am on TikTok at Red March Rose, like the color and the month and the flower, Red March Rose. And then also online at www.emmaredmarchrose.com.
Well, all right. Listeners, go check that out. You can tell that Emma is just a fount of information. And I'm so glad you're here and you shared. This is beautiful. Listeners, thank you for your time. And I hope you're not too embarrassed with everything that Emma shared. We appreciate it. It's a safe space here at Set Listing Bruce. And so we will take care, be good, and we will talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Thanks.
This podcast would not be possible without my wonderful group of patrons. I want to send a special thanks to John Munson, Mary Thomas, Terry Smith, Dale Hosick, Andrew Goddard, Stephen Malio, Alex Samada, Anna Lynn, Chris Bloom, Holly Mack, and Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Your support means the world to me, and you are forever in my heart.
You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.
Now that you guys have listened to the credit, obviously, happy April Fool's Day.
Right.
Emma Marie is an improv comic from the Chicago area. I put the call out for someone to help me be the worst podcast guest. And I think Emma superbly played that part. Thank you, Emma, so much for playing around with me.
Oh, anytime. I felt a little guilty because I've been in your shoes and I was like, oh, this would hurt a little.
So tell us a little about yourself. And I'm fascinated because you are a librarian, right?
I am. And I do have a dog named Judy Books. She is around here. So,
That's right. Yes.
Yes, I'm a children's librarian by day. And I love that. That's like my passion. I do that part-time. And then in my other time, I've actually been working on a painting today that was commissioned, and I do stand-up comedy. I do improv comedy. I do sketch comedy, and I have a podcast called Screw Up the Podcast, which is that like Apple and Spotify and all the good stuff, wherever you're listening now, probably.
Yeah. I've been listening to the podcast. It's a lot of fun. It's you and your partner basically just telling stories about how you guys have embarrassed yourselves or how other people have been embarrassed. Tell me a little bit about that. Where did it come from? How did you think of this? And talk to me a little bit about your secret origin story.
Oh my goodness. I'm so incredibly grateful for my podcast partner, CJ Darneater. Yeah. He's a fellow Chicago comedian transplant. We both moved to Chicago in 2019. He from Milwaukee and me from North Carolina. We met in Chicago, and we started the podcast a little over a year ago because we spend so much of our friendship discussing like our mental health journey and comedy. So we are like, we need to start a podcast about this, and we are constantly making mistakes. And I think so much about So much of like being self-aware is basically being a witness to yourself failing so much, because as human beings, that's what we do. We just constantly fail if we're
Yes.
trying. So if you're not failing, you're not trying. So we just talk about, and we try to air it out in a comfortable way so that people don't feel shame about these things, because so much of us go through the same thing and think that we're alone, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really fun podcast. You guys have covered everything from screwing up the recipe, screwing up,
The 1990s.
yeah, the 1990s, screwing up porn,
That's right.
which you guys tried to very awkwardly start out as if it was a soft form. That was so bad that it was so
It
fun.
was so bad. That's what happens when we try to riff our openings, which is if you can't. Oh, it's so hard for me right now. It is the dirtiest podcast. I probably should mention that right away.
Yeah.
I recently at the library, I posted a like promotional link
Yeah.
for some of my upcoming shows in Chicago, and maybe it just slipped my mind that my podcast link is all over my website too. And so a couple librarians have now come up to me and commented about my podcast, which is such a different environment. And I just want to run out the door and be like, that's Batman. I'm Clark Kent right now. Wait, no, that's Superman.
No, but it's true, right? The whole, it's
my alter ego.
Right, my alter ego. Yeah, because the reason why is I just over the past 3 or 4 months, I was part of a network, and the guy who ran the network decided that he wanted to get out of the full-time podcast business. And so he kind of released all of us to do our own thing. And one of the things he did is he not a prude or anything, but he says, if you curse, you have to mark it explicit. And in some countries, once one episode is explicit, they're all explicit.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
and he says, and just for sake of, this is, let's try to stay away from religion and politics. Right. So it was interesting because in a couple of times now that I'm not part of the network, when someone has dropped an F-bomb, I didn't have to beep it. Right. Like I was like, oh, okay, I could just keep that going. I'll just mark it explicit. Yeah, exciting. Yay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is that, that I've heard that from other people, right? Like this is my persona when I'm doing this podcast, or this isn't necessarily me. There is, I'm trying to think of the actress who's on, Kristen, I think I can't think of her last name, but she's on Signed and Delivered, these Hallmark movies. Well, she also starred in The Boys. And so she was on the podcast saying, yeah, The Boys is a lot rougher. Like not go, if you're used to me in this Hallmark Channel movie,
like culture shock. I wonder how many poor middle-aged ladies were like, oh, I just love that actor. Oh no.
Exactly. So she was warning that. That is hilarious. So I know
use that in stand-up comedy. It comes in handy though. Yes. Because it's such a juxtaposition,
right?
That I try not, I don't go into specifics about the library because I do try to be professional in that way. And I don't like to talk about patrons, but just as as a librarian living this life, it does lend itself well to stand up, because I feel like it's a unique perspective in stand-up comedy.
So it was really funny when I started dating my wife, and this was way back in 1980 was our first date. She was going to college, and she worked part-time at the Calcasieu Parish Library. We were in Louisiana. And so she was a page, and she does not read. She still doesn't read. She doesn't like to read. So, and I great reader. And so in a lot of ways, what sold our dating is like she would, the new books that would come out, she would be able to check them out for me and get everything. And then as she started, like when someone would come in and go, I'm wanting some good books, she'd go, oh, this book's really good, because I had said it was really good. So it was back and forth.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was. Yes.
Symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It was very
Works for
fun.
everybody. I love that.
Yeah. So to get serious just for a minute, what is your feelings, Emma, about all this book burning and this banning of books that we're fighting right now?
It's insane. Also, and it's it feels like this is the librarian struggle though. And
Yeah.
that's like what makes me so like proud to be a librarian.
Yeah.
When you go to college to be a librarian and everything, and in the public library system, the belief is in no censorship.
Right.
I mean, we do our best to vet information. That's what we do to make sure it's accurate, but we try to never censor. And even it's kind of funny working in youth services. One of the first couple jobs I had in children's services, I was interviewing for it. And one of the questions was basically like, what if a fourth grader were to come up to you with like Game of Thrones? It wasn't Game of Thrones because I don't think it was out then, but, and were to like say, I want to check this out. Would you check it out to them? Or what would you do, in that situation? And I think at the time I was like 16 or 18 or very young. And I said something along the lines of, well, I'd probably find their parent or guardian and verify that that was appropriate for them to have.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that in the interview, and the librarians I was interviewing with were like, you'd think that, but no, you check it out to him immediately. He is a patron.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, all right, that's our stance. And every library I've been to since, like they, not age, well, we have like age appropriate areas where you would be aimed, but we never confine people to any areas or any topics or anything. And we try to have our collections be as like diverse as possible. It's like always the goal.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I always cracks me up, and I've kind of picked this up when Linda was working there, and for example, what's the capital of Texas, right? Well, according to, and you had to quote your source, like when she answered the phone, when someone asked, you had to quote your source. Well, according to blank, Austin is the capital of Texas. And I always think that I will say that now, well, according to Wikipedia, which is never wrong, this is the thing.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, surprise. Yes.
What like I said, I grew up going to the library, was this massive reader, would find a new series and devour it, find a new writer. Like I remember in junior high school, finding Isaac Asimov, the science fiction writer, and just every collection of his I could find, I read. What are books? What are some of the books that young people are reading? Is it a lot of the classics, or is there newer things?
It's newer things.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, like in the schools, I think that they're still reading some classics, and classics is so like subjective now too, because like I'm thinking like My Side of the Mountain now and Hatchet and things like that aren't really even that old, but they're probably considered classics.
I just reread Hatchet, by the way.
So good.
It was so funny because my son was never a reader too. He took after his mom. And so, he had for summer reading when he was in the 6th or 7th grade, I ended up buying it for him. And then I ended up reading and was so sucked into it. I read all of them, all the sequels.
Barry Paulson.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so talented. I had bought quite a few of his books at like 16 and 17 where I was like, I need to keep these ones. I need. Yes, he's so talented. Oh man. So definitely those ones, like the classics. Yes, absolutely. But for my library, I order the graphic novels.
Oh, nice. Like what?
So like The Bad Guys, and I think the movie just came out too. Yeah, that's what that new movie is based on, a graphic novel series called The Bad Guys. And so I do a lot of I do a lot of graphic novel
Oh,
readers
good.
advisory.
So I was just last night as we record this, I was at a book signing for Brad Meltzer, and I'm a
Awesome.
big fan of his I Am books. I don't know
Oh,
if you guys have those in your library, the children's books like I Am Amelia Earhart, I Am Abraham Lincoln.
yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, or is it like the Who Is books?
Yeah, kind of like, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, another book that I was really surprised is I ended up reading Holes.
Oh, Sacker.
Yeah, Sacker. And
Ooh,
I
yeah.
was amazed at how good of a book it was. I mean, and how everything tied together, and it was very good.
So
Really,
sweet.
really, yeah. Just I could talk books with you all night. Yeah.
Have you read much Neil Shusterman? He's
Uh,
probably my favorite. Like,
and what books were that?
so good. It's a little bit newer. Well, I'm not even sure now exactly, but he did a series called Unwind, and I think
Okay.
the series, the first book's Unwind, and I think it's called the Skinjacker trilogy.
Okay.
But then it kind of branched into more too, and then also a series called Everlost.
Okay.
And both of them are kind of like sci-fi fantasy with more of a morbid twist, I'd say.
Okay.
They're so good. Neil Shusterman, I just throwing that name out there because that's, if anybody comes across him, he's so
No,
good.
I'm going right now to Goodreads and mark that I want to read
Yes.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, he that I appreciate that. Do who else? What else did you say? Who else do you recommend?
Oh man, actually right now I'm currently reading this book, and I feel like I'm listening to the audiobook actually, which I do listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
I have to read the graphic novels, of course,
Yeah.
but I feel like I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And if anybody else is a big fan of audiobooks or wants to be, usually the public library has a free system. And
Okay.
also if you have trouble with fines, that's like a good way to do
Okay, good.
it. And so what I'm listening to right now is called Sapiens,
Okay.
and it's by Yuval Noah Harari, and it's a brief history of humankind.
Oh, okay.
And I'm about halfway through, and it is fascinating.
Mhm.
I love it so much. And it's just basically like, a brief history of humankind. It's like what we know so far about the origins of Homo sapiens. It's so interesting.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So you mentioned before we got on you were not a Bruce fan. So are you a big musician fan? Do you have a favorite band or type of genre music?
I really, it's so funny we were talking about this before, because I do want to be like all kinds and just like put that be like music, yay. But and it's funny because my dad was a huge Beatles fan growing up. There's like Beatles and Jefferson Airplane and just like the classics there.
Yeah.
And then my mom was a big Billy Joel fan.
Okay.
And I went through a little bit of an emo phase.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
For our listeners, I now have a mullet that can be emo and it can be country. And I like the versatility of it.
Go back and forth. That is good.
So, and I grew up in North Carolina, so I was exposed to a lot of country music.
Yeah.
And I feel like I tried to reject it, some of the newer country, but there's a whole plethora of country music that's always going to be in my heart and, forever.
So yeah, my wife and I were watching, Ken Burns, his, country music, and it was just so amazing to see so many great people and do it. That's wonderful. So that's great. So what's next? It appears you're an artist. Talk to me a little bit about your paintings.
Oh man, this is an audio medium, but
yeah,
would you like to see one real quick?
Sure.
This is a commission I'm working on right now for a child's second birthday.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Family. It's a little lion family.
Yeah.
Yes. So I do some painting commissions on my website. You can sign up for that really easily. And then I do. I play a little harmonica. Not wonderfully yet. I've learned a
Okay.
few songs, and I probably need to get a new harmonica.
Okay.
And then I have a couple guitars. My dad was always in bands when he was young, basically from teenager to in his 30s. He had a band and played gigs, around, and it was I don't know what I would call the genre. I guess they did a lot of covers of like rock songs and
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
And my dad, is always into music. He could play just about anything and everything by ear, which was always so amazing. My brother picked up that gene.
I don't understand that. I mean, I acknowledge it exists. I just can't imagine people that say, "Oh, I play the piano by ear." Like, how do your fingers know which keys to hit to make it sound decent? So
Yes,
yeah, I'm
I've been
always
so blown
amazed
away
at
by
that.
my brother.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw my brother pick up a harmonica. We had a little downtown night out that
Yeah.
was very small town, North Carolina. On the
Yeah.
Friday nights in the summer, we'd all go out, and someone had handed him a harmonica, and he had a hat on, and he just took the hat off and threw it down on the sidewalk and started playing the harmonica. And a couple people gave him $1, and I was so mad. I was like, I want that gene. I like that one.
that is hilarious. That is great. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you just graduated from Second City. How do you do that? Do you have to go through so many courses? Do you have to be, like, I just picture graduation to me means you go through tests and, you're grading and evaluated. What does that entail, Emma?
Oh gosh, it's so funny too, because I did my bachelor's in psychology and I did my master's in library and information studies. It's almost the exact opposite experience of all of that. So I moved to Chicago in 2019 specifically to go to Second City and do their comedy training program. And when I moved here, it was supposed to just be for the summer.
Right.
And I was like, I moved here in like the beginning of May, and I was like, I'll stay for the summer because I cannot do a winter here. And I have done 3 now, and I'm so proud.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, they're so hard. But I started with the Improv A and writing 1. I took those 2 classes congruously, and then I learned during those classes that because I had a little bit of experience in theater, and because I had the education, I could potentially apply for a program that they had, which I'm sure a lot of things have shifted. So the stuff that I say about Second City might not apply anymore. I don't know.
Sure.
But they had a program called Improv for Actors, which was almost like a fast-tracked improv program. Usually it's A through E, and this was just 2 classes. So after my first term, I took Improv for Actors 1, and then I took Improv for Actors 2. And then you have to apply to get into the conservatory program, which is kind of like the graduate program.
Yeah.
And so I applied and auditioned for that and got in, which was terrifying. And then we do a couple classes. And then once 2 terms are over of the conservatory program, you have to audition to stay in the program. So it's like, have you learned? Are you applying it? Let's see it again. So we went through audition process again. And as soon as I found out that that I had made it through the second round of auditions, was the shutdown. And I was like,
wow.
Ah. So I finished that term on Zoom, which people who can do improv on Zoom are gods to me.
Sure.
I cannot. It's so difficult.
I don't know. You did pretty good tonight.
I can do audio improv.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. I can do audio improv over Zoom, but I can't get my face and my mouth on the computer at the same right time.
Right. Yes.
So but then when we were able to be back in person, about half of our team a year later was still interested and still available, and we were like so grateful. So a few of us joined up with a few people that had been online, and we formed this like fun ragtag team, and now we'll be doing the World Comedy Expo on Saturday, March 26th at the Den Theater, and we'll be doing the Chicago Circus and Performing Arts Festival in April.
That's
April
exciting.
3rd. Yes.
That's
and that's all
very
on my
exciting.
website. So if anybody, don't have to remember any dates, they're all on there.
Yeah, it is Emma. Let's see, EmmaMarieMarchRose.com.
Yeah, Emma Red March Rose.
EmmaRedMarchRose.com, and I will have it in the show notes. All right, so Emma answered the Mary question, but can you answer the question as Emma Rose? Putting you on the spot here. If you've not, that's okay. I can cut this part out.
Oh my goodness. Emma, the improviser, would say no, but then Emma, your new friend.
Yes.
Would also say no, because
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, sir. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's interesting. I ask this question at the end of every episode, and about 60% of my guests say yes, Mary gets in the car. The other 40% said no, she doesn't, that she's too afraid to make that leap. That the guy asking her to, this is a town full of losers, we're pulling out of here to win. She's just too afraid. So that sets it up. That's good. If someone wants to reach you, at Screw Up the Pod is Twitter. EmmaRedMarchRose.com for anywhere else they can reach you. Anything else you want to plug?
I think I'm on Instagram, on TikTok, but
Okay.
everything is on the website. And thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show. This is wonderful. I'm so glad I got a new favorite podcast. This is great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you guys if you guys need to have a how to screw up a job interview, I've been interviewing for 30 or 40 years. So if you ever want to have me as a guest on that, I would love to join you guys. You're funny. This is great. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this little April Fool's episode. I thank Emma again for playing with me and doing a little bit of fun with this. If you're a podcaster, you know that joy of just the guests, no matter how much you try to pry out of them, and then it's funny, as I've heard this story, and then the moment you turn off the mic, they just start blabbing, just they're talking a mile a minute. And so it's just funny. So thank you so much. Listeners, go get vaccinated, go get boosted, go. Brad Meltzer, as I said last night, was doing a talk here in Dallas, and he said, if you hear about a book being banned, buy it. Whether you know the reader, know the writer, just buy it. And because that's how we're going to fight this. There's a lot of things going wrong right now. There's a lot of things going right, but it's scary. And we should not be afraid of anything that teaches someone. And so,
absolutely. Yeah. More correct information is never a bad thing.
That's right. And, I don't know. Neil Gaiman talks about how much he loves librarians, right? And he said that, he said, I didn't need daycare because my parents would take me to the library and stay there all day.
That's my childhood. I was actually homeschooled. And so most of it was in public libraries.
Yeah, it was. And so I truly, in fact, that's one of the things that I do. I have done in the past is when someone passes on, and instead of buying flowers, I'll try to find out some of their favorite books and I'll donate it in their honor at the librarian, right? Because that way it lives forever.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's making countless people happy and open their minds. That's Absolutely. So beautiful.
Yeah. All right, Emma, thank you. Listeners, thank you. Let's all be good to each other because that's how we're going to get through this. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
And we're done. Great job. Thank you. That was so much fun.